Welcome to my video review of Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 2, which came out on Blu-ray and DVD today. It just was released on physical copy today, but it was actually released on iTunes early. But I felt that I should do this video review for people who were interested in getting DVD, whether or not they should get it or not. I didn't do an actual review for Part 1, so I'll give a short little brief little summary on that. I absolutely loved part one. Uh, as a huge fan of the Frank Miller graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, I was so pleased to see a adaptation that was done so faithfully to the graphic novel. Some might have complained about the narration being taken out of it, but I felt that the narrations that were very prominent in the graphic novel may have made the animated movie felt a little bit too cluttered. While in animated form, some of the scenery, some of the things you just need to take in, just seem a little bit more effective without all the heavy dialogue scenes. There are some dialogue scenes or monologue scenes that were left for plot points, but very few, and I felt that they were very effective. And with the Batman's return after 10 years, at the very end of part one, the Joker awakens from a catatonic state that he was inside of Arkham Asylum. Great ending to part one, and made me super excited to see part two. And it did not disappoint at all. If anything, it uh, it overdid my expectations. I was expecting, something as good as part one, but it was just about 10 times better than I could have ever hoped for. As being a huge fan of the graphic novel, there's a lot of plot elements that happened in plot two that I'm super surprised that they're actually able to pull in, such as a small gang leader named Bruna, who is basically a woman with short hair that didn't wear a top, no bra, and she had swastikas over her nipples. And they had that in the show or in the movie. They had the whole Cold War background that was in the graphic novel about and Superman being kind of a pawn used for the government, uh, and him being almost killed by a nuclear explosion, not just by explosion himself, but just being like intoxicated and being like shriveled up to almost a zombie. It was really creepy. And the final confrontation between both Batman and Joker, perfectly done. I won't spoil anything because it is intense. And the as you see in the trailer, of fight between Batman and Superman was also really well done. It was actually better than the way it was done in the comic books because it felt very one-sided. In the comic book, felt like Batman had too much of an advantage. Surprisingly not, and Superman definitely put up a hell of a more fight and just really showed uh, how strong he can really fight. But Batman also, you know, he uses brains and technology and his wealth to fight. So it was a hell of a good fight and a really great, satisfying conclusion. I just wish that both parts were 76 minutes. I was not surprised that they were going to be two parts because that's a lot of content to compress into one film. All Stars Superman did the same mistake where they pressed so much content into one movie that everything felt rushed. Everything felt just like doesn't matter. While doing it in two parts, definitely it just let you can let things take its time. The pacing was a lot better, but I still feel like it should have been at least like a 90-minute film for both of them just to get a little bit more content out because there were a few parts where it did feel a tad bit rushed but not too bad. But the build up to the final fight seemed a little bit too fast, not the fight itself but just like suddenly okay, now we're going to fight. It was a little bit not very suspenseful, if that makes any sense. The voice acting is top notch. I love Peter Weller as Bruce Wayne. Perfect choice for him. Ariel Winter, who plays Carrie Kelly, also did great job. David Shelby voices Gordon, also perfect. Just a great 70 something year old uh, Lieutenant Commissioner Gordon. Just great job. I was also really surprised that they had Conan O'Brien as David Innicrent, who was actually plays David Letterman. They didn't. He was David Letterman in the show in the comic book, but they changed his name to Innicrent. But they did bring in Conan O'Brien to voice him, which was really cool. And as I was watching, I was like, this voice sounds really familiar. I had to look it up to see who it was, and I was like, oh yeah, there you go. So I mean, if you're a Batman fan at all, you already know you're probably a fan of the comic book as well. Then you have to see this, especially for the fight scenes and just how well it's done. As for part two alone, if they would have made it a live action movie, it would have been rated R, definitely, without a doubt, because some of the violence in that movie, some of the things that happen in that movie are definitely R material, but somehow they managed to make it into a PG-13 rated animated movie, which is incredible. I can't and uh, it just it's a must buy. Must buy. Buy it on iTunes. If you don't want to get a physical copy, buy it on DVD, Blu-ray today. Just such a great film, and I'm proud. I'm so happy to that they got around to make it. You could tell that the people making it were so in love with what they're doing, that they were so passionate about making a great Batman movie. Definitely recommend buying this. Alright, until next time, thanks for watching.